This week we're gonna start working with loops for each loops and arrays. So arrays are a type of data structure. They allow us to store elements of the same type. So for example, if I wanted to create an array holding just integers, I first have to tell Java the type of array. So I say int, and then I use these square brackets. That tells Java I'm creating or instantiating an array. And I give it a name just like a variable. I'll just put nums equals. And then I use the keyword new. And then I repeat the process where I say int and the square brackets. But then inside I have to tell Java how many integers I'm going to store. Now, there's two different ways to populate what's in an array. So the first way is you go cell by cell, and to get to each cell, I would say nums of 0 equal to some number. Now, cells in an array are just like a string where each cell has an index value associated with it. It starts at 0 and it counts up by 1. So for an array storing 5 elements, the index values are 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm just going to go ahead and populate these with some fictitious test scores. And I'm making little typos along the way. Okay, so copy and paste is my friend. So I'm going to speed this along a little bit. And I'll just put in one more in the last cell. Okay, now loops are really useful to work with arrays. Like one of the things I can do is I can add up all the elements in the array. Now arrays have a special constant called length, similar to the string, but it's a constant, not an array, so there's no parentheses. That will help us when we're working with loops. So maybe what I want to do is I want to add up all the elements of the array. So I'm going to create a variable sum. And all I have to do inside the loop then is say sum plus equals the name of the array and I, because we'll start from 0, we'll go all the way up to but not including 5. So we should end up with a number that's over 250, and just test that out. We should probably print what the sum is equal to. Sum is equal to concatenated with sum. So let's go ahead and compile and run and see where we're at. Hopefully there's no mistakes. And oh yeah, we should be over 400 since I did so many of them. So that looks to be about right. Okay, something else we could do as well is we could always calculate the average. We'll just do it in a print statement. We'll just keep rolling along here. And I'll say average is equal to, and then I'm going to concatenate that answer with, and we'll say sum times 1.0, so we'll get the decimal answer divided by nums.length, so that'll divide it by 5. Okay, so we should get 80 something when we run this program, and we do. Now, there's another way to instantiate or to create and populate an array, and that's using something called an initializer list. So let's make an array of strings, call it names, equal. Now, what's nice about this is all we do is we use the curly brackets, and then we separate what we want to put in the array with commas. Java will automatically count up the items in our initializer list and instantiate an array and store what we're putting in there as a string. So I'm just going to use the names of everybody in my family. Bailey's my dog, Rich is my husband, and then my girls, Lauren and Haley. All right, oops. And then the other thing you're going to learn about this week is you're going to learn about something called a for each loop. Now, a for each loop is a special kind of loop, and we use it when we know for sure that we're going to process every item in an array or in an array list, which we'll be learning shortly. So the for each loop looks a little different. So we say for, so we're going to say for the type of element in the array. We're going to have a counting variable. I'll call it a colon, and then the name of the array. So that's the format. So all I'm going to do is print each element. So I'm going to say for, and I've got strings in my array, and I'm just going to use a colon, and names. Now, you don't have to use the name of the array in the bracketry for each loop. As we process every element in the array, we just refer to I. I will start at the first element, and then every time through the loop, we continue on and process every element in the array. So maybe all I want to do is print the elements of the array. So I would do something like this. And again, I refers to the current item that we're on. So if we run this program, we can see that every item in the array is printed on its own line. So there's your introduction to arrays and the two different ways we can populate the arrays. This way, which is I call brute force, this way using an initializer list. Here's an example of a loop where we are totaling up the numbers in our integer array. And finally, here's an example of using something called a for each loop, a special kind of loop that processes every element in the array. So I hope that helps, and have a great week. Thanks.